morning, Malacañang Press Corps. Happy Easter. Today we have Senior Deputy Executive Secretary Menardo Guevara. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Happy Easter Monday, and I hope you had a very relaxing Holy Week. I'm substituting or pinch hitting for Spokes Harry for this week. He is on a well-deserved R&R, but I understand that he'll be back pretty soon. So I hope to be able to answer all of your questions based on the documents and official papers that pass through my desk. So let's start with the good news first. On the DOST scholars, we are pleased to announce that the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, recorded a total 8,994 qualified students for their scholarship programs for this year. This is 69.6% higher than the 5,303 qualifiers in 2015. Out of the 8,994 qualified scholars, 5,172 students will be under the Republic Act 7687 scholarship program, while 3,822 students will be under the DOST Science Education Institute Merit Scholarship Program. According to the DOST, a new stipend rate of 7,000 pesos per month will be given to the new and ongoing S&T scholars across all disciplines. Scholars are also entitled to tuition fee subsidy, book allowance, MSPE clothing allowance, one economy class round-trip fare per year for those studying outside of their home province, and group accident insurance. Pretty good. So I don't know if we don't have much events or too many news that happened during the past week, but maybe you have some important questions to ask, and which I'm willing to answer.
MPC question, Alvin Baltasar, microphone.
Alvin?
Sir, magandang umaga po. Sir, tungkol lang po doon sa development sa kaso ni Dima Feliz na mukhang meron ng sentence doon sa mag-asawang employer niya. Sir, nabalita na po ba ito ni Pangulong Duterte? Saka any new directive in connection with this latest development?
Well, by this time, the President might have heard about that news that was picked up abroad. And the directive that was given by the President was for the DFA through the mission in Kuwait to find out, to verify whether in fact such an event took place. I'm referring to the sentencing of this couple, who I understand are at large, still at large. They're not in Kuwait.
Follow-up question.
So, sir, paano po kaya mangyayari doon para ma-serve talaga yung sentence doon sa mag-asawa?
Well, that really belongs to the realm of Kuwaiti law, no? So if they have probably some extradition treaty with any country kung saan makikita yung mga nahanap, then probably they'll avail themselves of such mutual legal assistance agreements or extradition treaties, if possible.
Sir, one last sa akin.
Yes, sir.
Sir, update doon sa total ban ng deployment sa Kuwait?
Any update?
Any update?
The agreement that still holds, no? The total ban on sending OFWs to Kuwait is still on. But of course, an agreement, a memorandum of understanding is being formulated, and hopefully the state parties will come to terms as to how our OFWs in Kuwait, as well as in other Middle Eastern countries, will be protected. So basically, that will be a solution to this ban, this total ban about sending OFWs to Kuwait.
Laila, follow-up. Follow up muna sa
Laila?
Dimafelis. Ace
Ima
Romero.
Feliz? Yes.
Secretary, but how is Malacañang taking the the report about the death sentence?
Well, of course, the president and I suppose all, the entire Filipino people will be happy to know that that is true, no? Siyempre, that's what we want, justice for Dimafelis. So, let's hope that, in fact, that is true and that the couple will actually be apprehended and brought to the bars of justice.
In case the DFA verifies that the information about the death sentence is true, will it affect the decision of the Labor Department to continue the deployment ban?
I don't think so. I think it's still the agreement between the two countries on the manner of treating our OFWs that will matter, not the matter of the couple being brought to justice.
Because previous reports quoted the president and officials as saying that the ban will only be lifted if there's justice for Dimafelis.
I think that that is very specific to a particular case. We have to think about the others who are similarly situated.
Thank you, Secretary.
Follow up. Other issue. Laila Salaveria.
Laila,
Good morning. Sir,
good morning.
has the President made a decision on whether to accept the recommendation of 3 departments to close down Boracay by April 26? And if there's no decision yet, what's holding up?
All right. We received the recommendation, a short letter with very short content from the Department of the Environment and Natural Resources, DNR, DILG as well, and DOT, recommending that the closure of Boracay start on April 26 and for 6 months thereafter. But we have requested the Office of the President through the Executive Secretary's office have requested the 3 agencies to submit a more detailed memo on the justification or if there is any qualification at all to their recommendation. And I think today we'll be receiving those memoranda rather. I mean, expanding, explaining, and justifying their recommendation.
Sir, in particular, what are you looking for? What factors would inform the President's decision whether or not to close down the island?
First of all, it's the economic impact on the island, no, and the people residing and working there that has to be considered by the President as well. Not only the environment, but also, people, their livelihood, businesses, all of this will have to be taken into account.
Sir, when can we expect the decision? Because April 26 is fast approaching.
Pretty soon, I guess. Pretty soon. We are working on it. That's our top priority.
Thank you.
Follow up in Ina Andalong.
Ina,
Sir, you did mention that
where are you? Ina, sorry.
kulang nga ng details, but do you have an idea if the agencies are proposing a total na ba talaga or in phases?
From the looks of it, based on that, I think 2-paragraph letter recommendation, it would appear to be a total ban, no, as recommended. That's why we're asking for, some qualifications if there are any. The Department of Trade and Industry has actually submitted a separate memorandum to us, saying that maybe this closure can be done in phases, all right, because of the effect on businesses and livelihood in the area. So that is something that the Office of the President will most likely consider as well.
So far, sir, is it only the DTI that has expressed concerns over a total closure?
For now, yes, it's just the DTI.
Okay. Sir, will the businesses in Boracay be given enough time to prepare for a closure if it does push through? Because let's say it's the proposal is to close by April 26.
Right.
I mean, that only gives them a few weeks. Basically, earlier sinabi, bibigyan ng 1 month. How much time will they be given at least as a notice?
We'll actually consider that when we submit our recommendation to the President. Okay? Because the recommendations of the various departments will have to be processed by the Office of the Executive Secretary. And we'll do our own recommendation based on the explanation, or justification to be submitted by these three agencies, as well as the comments of the DTI and other agencies that may be minded to submit their comments.
Sir, what kind of assistance could be given, if any, to workers who may be affected by the closure? I mean, will the national government be providing them with any, I don't know, some sort of subsidy or work?
We'll probably tap the DSWD for some interim relief measures, or the DOLE to help them find employment elsewhere in some other islands or resorts perhaps, while the cleanup is going on.
Okay, follow up. Joseph, then Dexter.
Sir, pag po Pinas nagkaroon ng decision to...
Where are you?
Hi, sir. Ang taas naman.
Joseph.
Layo ng tingin, sir. Sir, pag nag-decide si Presidente to close or whatever decision that he has to make, what will be the legal basis? Because national coming into the local government unit.
Kasi alam mo, yung parang talagang general legal basis for something like that is the exercise of police power. All right, that's basically it, no? Of course, our environmental laws also play a role. Okay? So, yun ang actual legal basis, no? Kung talagang merong violation of some environmental rules and regulations, that's it.
Sir, no need to declare a state of calamity.
That is also being considered. Kasi para pag merong kasing state of calamity, some, let's say, affected people may avail themselves of calamity loans and so forth and so on to tide themselves over.
Sir, what is the President's inclination? Because of course, when he said that soundbite before, no, medyo iba siguro, medyo impassioned yun. But now we've seen maybe a little more complex situation in Boracay, meaning some are following rules, some are not following rules. It's not the whole island that's been, having the problem. What is the President's maybe inclination at this point?
Well, I have not talked to him directly, but I know that he's a very reasonable man. And for that reason, I guess he'll be able to consider other points of view as well.
So when you close it, ano pong magiging mechanics niyan? As in totally shut down yung island, no tourists will be allowed, no hotels will be allowed to operate?
Baka sa ports pa lang, meron ng obstacle, no? Kasi maybe doon pa lang sa point na yon, meron na kagad problema about entering. Except, of course, yung mga residents, no?
How do you distinguish the residents from tourists?
Siguro naman meron naman mga proper way to identify kung sino yung visitor, kung sino yung resident talaga.
Sir,
Ano
yun
naman
pong,
siguro yan.
I think there are roughly 30,000 from our reports before, no? Sa naming reporter. 30,000 registered local and foreign workers. How much of a factor will this play in the President's decision to do whatever in Boracay?
Yeah, definitely that's a consideration, but it's really the overwhelming consideration for the President really is to restore Boracay, to its pristine condition. So I guess the President is also ready, all things being equal, to make a firm decision to save Boracay. Okay, so it's just too bad that some maybe foreign workers will be affected, but we have to think much longer than 6 months. We have to think of the years to come, of the next generation to enjoy the island. So it's too bad that there are certain short-term effects, some sacrifice that has to be made. But we must not lose sight of the fact that this is for the long term.
Okay, follow up, Dexter Ganibe.
Hi, Sec. Good morning. Sir,
Yes, Dexter.
yung ine-expect natin na decision ng Pangulo kung magde-decide man siya, pabor doon sa recommendation, is it in a form of a declaration or a proclamation stating the closure or a state of calamity and the reason kaya
Well,
i-close
it could
Boracay?
take the form of a proclamation. It could take the form of a memorandum order. So under the ordinance power of the President, those are the possible legal vehicles to implement the decision.
Okay, and ito ay lalabas bago yung recommendation or pwedeng mabago yung recommendation nila na April 26?
I didn't quite get that.
Yung
alin
kung
ang-
magdedesisyon man ang Pangulo,
Oo.
pwede niya bang
Oo.
hindi sundin yung nirecommend na magsisimula ng April 26
Oh,
or maaari niyang
of course. Oh, prerogative ng President yun, no? Of course, even us, no, when we make our recommendations, we're not 100% sure that our recommendations will be followed. I mean, opisina na namin yun, no? Because the President, has the prerogative. He has all the information at the tip of his fingers. So, he has better information than the rest of us.
Sir, this month may mga na-schedule na mga cruise ship na mag-stop over sa Boracay, and the following months ay may mga nakaschedule pa. Ang sinasabi, dapat mag-decide na para maabisuhan yung mga pupunta doon. Gaano katagal ang hihintayin natin?
That's why
Bago-
we're putting this matter as our top priority this week.
Okay, follow up. Ina?
Ina.
Sir, is the president aware of the plan to put up a casino in Boracay? And if so, what has he said about it?
I'm sure that he is aware that there is a casino supposed to be constructed in some island of the main area. All right, but that's construction. That will probably take about maybe 2 years. All right, we're just looking at several months to clean up the main island. So that's not really inconsistent. Come to think of it.
Because there were some statements from some secretaries, I believe, DILG and DNR secretaries, saying that the plan to put up a casino seems contradicting to efforts to rehabilitate the island. I was wondering if those statements were already relayed to the
First
president.
of all, it's a PAGCOR matter, no, whether to grant or not to grant a license to operate. And what I can say is, for as long as any establishment, for that matter, including this casino, complies with all the regulatory requirements like environmental rules and regulations, there should be no problem with that. That
Even
also provides employment for residents there.
even if the president previously announced a moratorium on new casinos.
Well, if there is such a moratorium, I'm not factually certain if there is such a moratorium. But if there is such a moratorium, then the operation of that casino will have to be suspended in the meantime, right? But the construction is another matter.
Right.
It's just, konkreto, buhangin, and so forth and so on. Wala pa namang ginagawa. No operations yet. It could actually be maybe transformed into a hotel or some other business establishment. Not necessarily a casino.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Bernadette, Nicolas? Follow up? Okay.
Eileen, Sir Joanna Balyaran from Inquirer.net.
Yes,
Follow
Joanna.
up lang po sa casino, proposed casino sa Boracay. You said po na they need to comply with regulatory requirements. Ngayon, how would the government ensure na talaga magko-comply sa regulatory requirements, since yun nga po yung dating problema sa Boracay na 'di ba, na hindi po talaga on paper, yes, they complied, but in actual structures po hindi talaga. So how would the government
I think ang principal agent dito na dapat na nakakaalam kung may compliance or not is a local government unit. More than the regulatory agencies themselves, who may or may not have representatives in various areas of the country, I think it's the local government unit who should be in the forefront of monitoring compliance.
Last on Boracay, Benji Liwanag.
Benji?
Sir, good
Yes,
morning. Sir, how about the local government sa Boracay? Mapapanagot ba natin sila? Kasi because of the closure, maraming nilabag yung mismong mga establishments noon. So, is Malacañang aware of this, sir?
Well, I guess in a situation like that, it's inevitable that there might be some inquiry kung merong pagkukulang or not ang local government unit. So probably the DILG or even the OP itself might consider something like that.
And also, are we only looking at Boracay? Hindi ba natin tinitignan pa yung ilang beaches?
Yes, we are also looking at the other areas na may potential na may potentially at risk, no, of being abused.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Bernadette, other issue na to.
Other issues?
Sir, Bernadette po from Business Mirror. Sir, dito
Bernadette,
po. Opo.
sorry.
Sir, dun lang po sa update po sana dun sa EO on contractualization po. Kailan po mapipirmahan po ni President?
That draft EO has been under study in our office for quite some time. The main problem there is yung mga gustong mangyari ay something that the executive department is not empowered to do. Kailangan legislative action talaga. Because labor code yan nahandoon yung provisions against contractualization but allowing for some in some areas. No? So if you want something like a total ban on contractualization, you need a law to repeal or amend that particular provision of the labor code. An executive order is meant only to supplement, all right, or to, give the details, implementing details of what the law provides, but it cannot add or subtract or substantially alter what the law provides. That's really more for Congress to do. So I hope you will understand the limitations of an executive order.
Follow-up? May follow-up doon?
May follow-up
okay.
po ako. Sir, kung meron pong kulang dun sa batas po natin ngayon about contractualization, ano pong pinopropose nyo sanang provision sana na ma-include sa Constitution po?
Hindi
labor
naman
code.
sa Constitution.
Sa labor code pala,
sa
sir,
labor
sorry.
code lang. Well, kung talagang total ban on contractualization, yung provision pertaining to that, no, yung granting certain exemptions. All right, from the contractualization provision. May mga exceptions kasi dyan. But for now, what the executive department is doing is really to make compliance with the existing regulations very strict. All right, yung monitoring ng compliance, at the very least, yon ang nagagawa ng executive department for now, especially the Department of Labor and Employment. No? So their bureaus on inspection and so forth and so on. Labor standards.
Sir, tanong ko lang po kung nag-push through po yung meeting ni Duterte with the labor groups before the Holy Week po, kasi yun po yung sabi sa previous reports po.
I'm not aware na in fact natuloy yung meeting na yun. I have not been advised about it.
Thank you po.
Okay, follow-up. Marisol Halili.
Marisol?
Hi, sir. Good morning. Sir, just a clarification. Does it mean that there's a slim chance to issue an executive order on the contractualization following these concerns?
Meron naman siguro. There's a slim chance but not really on the substantive side of it. Baka it's really more on strictly enforcing the existing provisions of the law. Kasi nga hindi naman po pwedeng i-alter ng executive order what the law provides. So, what the law provides, strictly i-implement under that EO. Kung merong more safeguards that need to be put in place, yun ang gagawin under an EO.
So more on strict
Yes,
implementation lang.
for
no
now,
additional.
that's what I can see. Pero substantial amendments, that's legislative. That's congressional.
And may we know, sir, what particular provisions yung nakalagay dun sa recommendation or draft EO na hindi kayang i-pursue ng executive department and needs legislation?
Well, of course, in total ban itself is something that we cannot do by EO.
Follow-up. Pia? Follow-up.
Pia?
Gutierrez, sir.
Yeah, Gutierrez, yes.
Sir, if I remember, yung draft EO that you're talking about, is it the same draft EO that labor group submitted to President Duterte last year in Davao?
That's one draft. There's also another draft coming from the Department of Labor and Employment and our own draft. Draft ng Office of the President.
So, 3 drafts po.
Yes, we are trying to, harmonize all of this, putting all useful proposals together in one EO.
So, how different would the EO be doon sa mga existing, sir, na department orders ng DOLE, which actually calls for stricter regulation ng contractual labor, sir, practices?
Honestly, not much.
Not much, meaning, sir, wala naman tayong masyadong i-expect, sir, na bago.
Kasi nga yun sa substantial provision, we can't do much about it. We can only do something about implementation, strict implementation of what we already have.
So dun sa ina-advocate po ng mga labor groups na total ban on contractual labor, so hindi na po yun. So parang it's basically we're putting a death sentence to that, sir.
Not a death sentence. The executive can make that, an initiative, can have the initiative in making that proposal and pushing for it in Congress.
Thank you, sir.
Follow up sa contractualization, si Joanna then Ace.
Yes, follow-up ko rin lang po, sir. You said po na kailangan po ng legislation to amend certain provisions sa labor code. Has the executive department po spoken with Congress leaders in-house and the Senate on how to deal with this issue? And I understand, we all understand that this contractualization po is one of the main platforms, campaign promises ni President. Ano na po yung progreso pagdating nung sa legislation part? Ano
Hindi
na po
pa. As of this time, wala pa namang ganun talagang actual na liaison or coordination with the legislative department. We're still trying to do our best to come up with an executive order that can be acceptable to the labor sector. So, nandun muna ang aming priority. Kung talagang unhappy pa rin ang labor sector with an EO the best EO that we can come up with, then that's a time that we'll probably do our consultations with Congress.
Ace Romero? Okay na yan. Other issue, Joseph Morong.
Joseph?
Sir, kay Napoles lang po.
Napoles.
Yeah, because there's a recent decision, February decision yata ng Supreme Court denying yung MR niya for provisional liberty. Now, si Napoles, in that case, wanted to apply yung ginawa ni former President Arroyo na during the trial stage, nag-demur to evidence, no? And then, parang medyo kinatigan si PGMA ng court. Now, she wanted to do the same thing. Ang sabi ng Supreme Court is that stage yung problem, no? Yung trial ni former President Arroyo was during the actual trial on the merits.
Tama.
And she cannot apply that because right now nasa bail hearing lang siya.
Exactly.
All right? So, question, sir, is right now denied yung provisional liberty because of the stage that she's in. Yes? Assuming, sir, that any case in the Sandigan Bayan proceeds to a trial proper, can she go up again to the Supreme Court? First, in the Sandigan Bayan, she can challenge the prosecution, demur to evidence, and then cites that to Supreme Court to basically just apply the same context, no, with PGMA. Can that decision be changed, sir?
The basis for filing a demurrer to evidence, no? That's actually a motion to dismiss, right, in layman's terms, is or comes after the presentation of evidence by the prosecution. Meaning, meron ng trial proper on the merits of the case. And the prosecution has already presented all its evidence, no, as against the accused. Now, if the defense thinks that the evidence presented by the prosecution is insufficient to prove her guilt beyond reasonable doubt, that's when she files a demurrer to evidence. And if that is granted, that is tantamount to an acquittal. If that is denied, all right, so it's up to her. She can challenge it upstairs if she wants on the ground of grave abuse of discretion, if need be. All right, but that is, well, she can take that route the way the former president did it. But of course, magkaiba naman ng kaso yan, magkaiba naman ng ebidensya na ipepresent dyan, no? Oh, but that could happen. Huh? If a demurrer to evidence is presented and that's granted, that's acquittal.
Meaning, sir, right now, dinina yon, no? Kasi nga iba yung stage. But when they go to clarification lang, sir, when they go to trial proper,
yes,
she can try again.
Yes, of course. Pag after the presentation of the prosecution's evidence. Right now, wala pa naman doon si Napoles eh. Nasa bail hearing pa lang naman siya. It's not trial on the merits as yet.
Questions? MPC? Other issue? Hannah? Follow-up ka ba? Hannah?
Hi sir, good morning. Sir, may panawagan po yung yung isang sectoral movement sa Marawi po. Hindi po daw sila pinapakinggan ng pamahalaan regarding doon sa rehabilitation sa Marawi, na hindi sila pinapakinggan at isinasantabi po yung kanilang mga iminumungkahi. Ano po ang reaction po ng palasyo dito at kung ano po yung magiging move po doon sa kanilang kahilingan po?
I'm sure that residents themselves will be given an opportunity to make their own proposals on how to rehabilitate their own city. Baka naman meron lang konting, sort of misunderstanding or hindi naman ganun talaga ang ibig sabihin, no? But I doubt it very much whether, the residents themselves of the city will not even be consulted on the manner by which their city will have to be rehabilitated. Okay, there are cultural, historical aspects that need to be respected and considered. So when you are restoring something, you are bringing it back to its condition before, no? Of course, with much improvements, but essentially, yung pagiging essence of Marawi City as a Muslim city will have to be taken into account, in the
Sir,
restoration process.
Sir, hiling din po na, appeal po nila kay Pangulong Duterte na wag po ituloy yung proposed plan na magkaroon ng economic zone sa Marawi at wag po maglagay po ng military camp doon mismo sa syudad po. Kung pag-ibigyan po ba ng Pangulo yung hiling nila?
I think it's too early, to say whether the president will act on that request. No? We'll leave it to the task force Bangon Marawi to consider that, to take that into account, and to evaluate whether the existence or non-existence of a military camp inside Marawi City is advisable, and whether or not converting it into an economic zone will be for the betterment of the city or not. That's all for the task force to evaluate and decide on.
Okay. Thank you, Hannah. Joanna?
Sir, reaction lang po ng palasyo dun sa sa complaint na final ng Akbayan Youth against Communications Assistant Secretary Muka Uson, administrative case po, administrative complaint for allegedly using her position to proliferate fake news and silence the critics of the government. May I get Palace reactions po? Reaction.
I understand that was filed before the Ombudsman, an administrative case. Well, I'm sure ASEC Mocha will be able to defend herself. Meron namang mga processes to follow and to observe, and she'll be given her fair chance, to be able to explain.
Ace Romero?
But do you agree that she is purveying fake news?
Of course not.
Why, Secretary?
Well, I really don't have, to tell you frankly, hindi ko naman binabasa ninyo lahat ng mga nasa blogs. No? I don't really have much time to go over all of these things. But she has consistently denied it. No? So I take her word for it. As a fellow worker, I take her word
So
for
you
it.
disagree with the Akbayan youth who accuse her of spreading...
I really am not in a position to say whether they have any prima facie basis or not. Because to tell you frankly nga, hindi ko naman nababasa rin yung mga blogs na sinasabi.
Thank you, Secretary.
Joseph Moro? May tanong ka?
Joseph?
Sir, meron daw mensahe ba o reaction daw yung Palace dun sa start ng recounting sa vice presidential
Well, the palace welcomes the recount, no, para ma-settle na yung long festering dispute na yan, no. Well, other than that, this is a judicial matter. This is before the Presidential Electoral Tribunal already. So we leave it to the co-equal branch to handle that.
Okay. MPC? No more questions? Ina? Okay. Okay,
No more?
thank you,
Thank you very much. It's a happy week.
Okay, thank you, Senior Deputy Executive Secretary Guevara. Thank you, Malacañang Press Corps. Back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.